Thank you. Thank you for being here, everybody. Welcome. Tonight is the second in a series that Dr. Roger is doing on Beyond the Veil. So we're talking about near-death experiences and what's it going to be like. So this first song is called Heaven. It's by Brett Dennen, and it talks about what is heaven going to look like? What is heaven anyway? So here we go. You ready, Rob? I'm ready. All right. Beyond the rules of religion, the cloth of conviction, above all the competition, where fact and fiction meet, there's no color lines, castes, or classes. There's no fool in the masses. Whatever faith you practice, whatever you believe, oh, heaven, heaven, what the hell is heaven? Is there a home for the homeless? Is there hope for the hopeless? Throw away your earthly possessions. There's no walls around heaven. There's no code you gotta know to get in. No Minutemen or Border Patrol. You've got to lose those earthly possessions and leave behind your weapons. You cannot buy your salvation, and there is no pot of gold. Oh, heaven, heaven, what the hell is heaven? Is there a home for the homeless? Is there hope for the hopeless? Heaven ain't got no prisons, no government and no business, no banks or politicians, no armies and no police. Castles and cathedrals crumble, pyramids and pipelines tumble. The failure keeps you humble and leads us closer to peace. Oh, heaven, heaven, what the hell is heaven? Is there a home for the homeless? Is there hope for the hopeless? Is there a home for the homeless? Is there hope for the hopeless?
Wow, that was heavenly. Thank you, Tom Litch and Rob Lowe. And it's heavenly to see all of you here this evening and you joining us online. We are here for part 2 of Dr. Roger Teel's series on Beyond the Veil. And you'll remember that last week he shared with us several of the characteristics people experience when they go beyond the veil and then come back to tell about it. And 4 of those were a feeling of lightness or floatiness, a feeling of being detached or in another dimension, and then also being able to see yourself from outside of your body. And then many people also have a life review. a life review. Now, I experienced all of those things when I had a near-death experience in the 6th grade. What happened? My parents took we 4 Wilkinson children from the relative safety of Oklahoma out to California for summer vacation. And on our very first day there, we went to the beach. I saw people playing in the big waves, and I thought, how much fun. I'm going to go ahead and swim on out there. Not a good idea. So the very first wave caught me and tumbled me. Can you imagine like being a little tiny button on a shirt that gets violently ripped off and then tossed around in the washing machine with chaos and currents? That was me. I didn't know which end was up or down. I just cartwheeled around. I held my breath as long as I could. Finally, I couldn't anymore. So I just released it. There was salt water everywhere. My eyes stung, but I just released it. And then suddenly I felt calm and peaceful and surrendered and even supported and one with the wave. And I thought, okay, this is it. It's rather kind of pleasant. And then came my life review. So I could see all the times in my life I'd been nice and naughty. They were on a little film strip that went across in my mind. And I was a people-pleasing, approval-seeking little 6-year-old, so some of them were very nice, but some were very naughty. Places where I had been ornery or mean or exclusive, and my little brother featured prominently in those. And so I had this download in that suspended state of being. Oops, I should be nicer to him. I should actually be nicer to everyone because we're all connected. At the level of atoms and molecules and energy, it's all connected, like I'm connected to this wave in this gigantic ocean of being. And again, very happy, very pleasant, and then wham, I hit the beach. I took a deep breath. My eyes stung. I couldn't see. I realized in that moment that my little bikini was now being worn as 2 eye patches. So I got that sorted out. And then I had the realization, wow, nature is powerful. It is to be respected and honored. And it's also personal, as Dr. Teel was talking about last week. And so let's just enter or center into these realizations that I came back with. I invite you now to take a deep breath, just relax wherever you are, and just know that power and that presence, that ultimate being that is the energy, the light, and the information that is both powerful and oh so personal. It knows us, not in a scorekeeping kind of way, but in a way that invites us and inspires us and evolves us to be the best version of ourselves we can be. Kind and loving, inclusive, and to know our magnificence at the deep soul level. We are magnificent. We are magnificent. And now here's more magnificent music from Rob and Tom.
So I was thinking about the message tonight, and it occurred to me that I don't know what's going to happen in the next life, but I've often said, you know, in the next life, I want to play piano like Rob Lowe.
And I want to sing like Tom Litch in my next life.
Yeah. So I figured, why wait? Let's take it for a ride. All right, you ready, Rob?
I'm ready.
Okay.
That's life. Whoa. I think we should switch back.
I totally agree. Okay, this is more where I belong, that's for sure. All right, play it right, Rob. Here we go. That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change my tune when I'm back on top in June. I say that's life, and as funny as it may seem, some people get their kicks stomping on your dream. But I don't let it get me down, 'cause this fine old world keeps spinning around. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, but I know one thing. Each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. So that's life, and I can't deny it. Many times I've thought of quitting, but my heart wasn't gonna buy it. And if it wasn't worth one single try, oh, I'd jump on a big bird and then I'd fly. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, but I know one thing. Each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. So that's life, and I can't deny it. Well, I thought of cutting out, baby, but my heart wasn't gonna buy it. But if there's nothing shaking this here July, I'm gonna roll, I'm gonna roll, I'm gonna roll myself up in a big ball and die. Oh, that's life. Yeah, ooh, yeah, that's life. Doesn't he play pretty? Oh, that's life. Yeah, my. Woo.
Yeah, Tom Litch, Rob Lowe, fantastic. I thought you were going to say you wanted to come back as a banjo player. Second choice? Ah, okay. Isn't that what everybody wants? Or should. Good evening. To those of you intrepid ones who are here, so wonderful to be back here, isn't it? In this beautiful space. So wonderful to see all of your faces. Although the eyes, I paid more attention during COVID times to the eyes and how expressive they are in folks. And to you online, welcome to our Wednesday night live here at Mile High. It's a joy to be asked to be back again and support this wonderful ministry as it continues to soar. And yes, we are in part 2 of a short series, fascinating stuff that I indulge in called Near-Death Experiences, Beyond the Veil, part 2. So a woman accompanied her husband to the doctor's appointment. And after the checkup, the doctor asked her to come into his office alone. And so she did, and she shut the door. And the doctor said, "Ma'am, your husband is suffering from a very, very severe condition combined with horrible stress. Now, if you don't do the following, your husband will surely die. So each morning, fix a healthy breakfast for him and be pleasant and be sure he's in a good mood. And for lunch, make a nutritious meal that he can take to work. And then for dinner, especially prepare a beautiful, beautiful meal for him. And don't burden your husband with chores. And don't discuss your problems with him. Try to relax him by giving him plenty of back rubs, and have him watch lots of sports on TV because I know he enjoys that. Satisfy his every whim. And if you can do this for a year, then he'll regain his health. And so she nodded and she left. And they got in the car, she and her husband. And on the way home, her husband asked her, well, so what did the doctor say? And she turned to him and she said, you're going to die. You're going to die. Now, it's not exactly news that we're all going to die. But there are many profound and beautiful indicators that we actually survive beyond the releasing of this physical body. That this thing we call death is just a transition from one dimension or vibratory state in life to another. And that in this transition, the soul not only survives, but it thrives upon this change and becomes more. And there have been so many voices and sources of insight and input around this. Enlightened masters and mystics through the ages have proclaimed the ongoingness of life and the durability of the soul, that it is absolute life and knows no death. Psychologists have used regression hypnotic therapy, hypnosis, to regress people back to past lives. One in particular is Dr. Brian Weiss. Another, Michael Newton, actually regressed people back to a remembrance of the interval between lifetimes to get a sense of what that's all about. Then mediums, such as James von Prague, have been able to be in connection with those who've gone beyond the veil. And then ministers and hospice workers are privileged to be at the side, as I have and most of us ministers have, of those who are at the edge and have been able to witness at a certain point the peace that often comes to them, the sense of the reunions that are about to happen, and their amazement with the threshold that seems to beckon them. A lady named Mona Simpson, who is actually Steve Jobs' sister, she allowed the New York Times to reprint a transcript of her eulogy at Steve Jobs' memorial. And she gave details about his last moments. And she said that she had rushed to his side. He was struggling to hang on, and he made it through the night, however. The next day, he began to slip away. And she says that he looked for a long time at his sister. Then his gaze shifted over to his children, and he looked at them for the longest time. And then he looked at his life partner, Lorene. And then he gazed over their shoulders to somewhere distant, somewhere out there, and he uttered his final words. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So with all of this input now, we also have the research and the transcripts of those who have had near-death experiences. And more than we would imagine have had experiences like this. Some don't care to share about it. Others are willing to, for the good of those who might find support and inspiration or comfort from that. Several of the staff members here last week, Jennifer Burnett, and thank you for your sharing, Reverend Linda, have had those experiences. I would imagine that a handful of you have as well. We have these near-death experience reports to offer us further insights into the nature of our soul, and that it seems that what they're saying is that we are residents for just a time in these physical bodies, and they are not fundamentally, however, who we are. We identify with them as we also identify with our thoughts, sometimes erroneously, or with our emotions or our experiences in this lifetime. But we are more than all of those things. And so near-death experiences help us understand. They give us compelling glimpses into the next stages and the nature of our ongoing journey. And it's a beautiful thing. A wonderful spiritual New Thought writer and mystic, Joel Goldsmith, he wrote these words: "Our present life on earth is only an interval in eternity. We have come from somewhere and we are going somewhere because life is an unending circle. If we could see this life as a parenthesis in eternity, we would realize that each one of us comes into this parenthesis to advance himself beyond what he was before. And therefore, there must be a going on from this experience in order to evolve into the next." A parenthesis in eternity. I love that. This lifetime. And it may well be that that parenthesis, especially the one between this and the next life, that parenthesis is the veil. And I often think of this veil we're talking about as a vibrational membrane. A vibrational membrane between this dimension, this very thick and dense physical dimension, and what I deeply believe to be a more rarefied and advanced one awaiting us. It's like a vibrational membrane or a threshold into our greater yet to be, into the ongoingness of life. Now, our founder, Ernest Holmes, he knew lots about this. He wrote a lot about it. He says, "It looks as if we're already immortal and need not die to take on immortality. If there are many planes of life and consciousness, perhaps we only die from one plane to another. All evidence should prove to us that we are not going to attain immortality, but that we are now immortal." It's so good to take that in because, again, we so identify ourselves in terms of time-space limits that are a part of this dimension. And yet we're a part of something greater, which is why the great teacher said, "You're in this world, but you're not of it. You're of the Spirit, and you're here for a time to learn, to grow, to contribute, and to enjoy and celebrate life until such time as something beckons you to take your next steps." And so, as with last week, I want to continue with more of research insights and some more transcripts about these near-death experiences, understanding, as I said last week, that there's a spiritual core of themes, and it's all about light, love, and oneness. And remember that there's such a tremendous similarity across these transcripts. Now, there are also unique elements, but there's such a through line of similarity. The realization that they're freed, that they're in a higher state of awareness. And as Linda said, they're looking down upon their body and hearing what's going on and seeing what's going on, and yet they're not using any of those physical instruments. And then there's this tunnel that takes them forward, an enormous light, a light that loves them and can communicate with them. And then, as Linda shared, there's a life review, and we'll talk more about that later. And tremendous compassion and love. And then ultimately, there is the realization that it is not their time. For some, they're told they must go back. Others are given the choice whether to stay in that rarefied dimension or to move forward. But always, as we explore these things, it's not about planning for what will be. It's about living fully now. Near death is really about real life. Real life. So tonight, I want to share a few more of the insights that I think are particularly important to derive from this phenomenon. And the first has to do with choice. It does seem like choice is fundamental to our unfoldment at every level of life. And our transition is no exception. Now, of course, for near-death experiencers, there's an obvious choice that they made, and that was to return into their bodies, to continue their learning, their growing, their lessons in this life experience. But many of those who've had near-death experiences report a greater understanding of the impact of choices they have made in their lifetime and before that. Many of them report that before we were born, they realized in this higher state of awareness that before they were born or any of us were born, we made a number of choices about the lifetime that we are having now. That we specifically chose much of our lives as they are. Many of these transcripts report them saying, I realized that I chose my body, I chose my parents, I chose many of the key turning points and the general tenor of my lifetime. All of this so that I could learn and grow. And then as I was birthed, the memory of these choices was erased so that I could encounter these things genuinely and thus learn from them firsthand and integrate the evolution that I planned for or desired in this lifetime. That's a very profound thought, isn't it? Now, of course, most of them have realized that they've forgotten this, but in this rarefied state, they realized, oh yeah, I'd made a lot of choices. And then they also realized that they had choice in this lifetime of how they encountered and worked with much of what they set up for this particular lifetime. Now, I find this to be particularly liberating because now I get to blame it on my choices before I knew any better. But at the same time, I find it liberating because I realize that it's all here for my good. Every part of it. Of course, the highs as well as the lows. And that I had to have known prior to my incarnation that I was not only up to whatever I might face or whatever I was called upon to be and do, but that I was supported all along the way and that it would be a great journey. And so the liberation is that we can stop resenting our life as it is and start wondering, what is the soul message for me? What was the soul level intention for me as I embarked upon all the rich facets, the tapestry of this lifetime? I share with you this transcript from a lady named Kara. She had a fractured skull that required surgery. She was also diagnosed with cancer, but they're unsure if that had anything to do with her near-death experience. But she talks about choices, and she's really clear about that. She says, I had a choice, and yet I also knew that if I didn't come back at this time in this body, I would return to the earth school in another body to finish what I was here to do. I now know that everything is very well choreographed. Nothing is by chance. There are no coincidences. Although everything is well planned, we have a choice as to how we use the information. Everyone whose path we cross, for example, crosses our path for a reason. We have the choice to disregard the individual and the experience, and we have the choice to be open to the possibilities offered with this interaction. We have the choice to live every moment being aware and totally in the moment, or we can choose not to be totally in the moment, which a lot of folks do in our society. Choices. Consider the incredible ramifications of choices. But it makes sense if you understand that who we really are as spiritual beings is we are creative consciousness. And creative consciousness is choosing, designing by its very inherent nature. And that has an impact on our life more than we know. The second thing I'd like to deal with is what Reverend Linda shared with us from the grist mill of her own life experience, and that's the life review that so many people who've had near-death experiences speak of. It's as though time is backed up, and then in a very minute way, they review the incidents of their life. So much so, remembering things they hadn't thought of for years and years. And it's an amazing process. But there's a key in these sharings. And the key is that there is no judgment about this life review. There's no harshness, no punishment in this. That instead it's a loving evaluation of how things have gone and how the growth process has been going. And most of the near-death experiencers realized that they were the ones doing the evaluations, not some other power, but they were self-evaluating the good news and the interesting news about their life thus far. And they also, in many cases, reported that in reviewing these experiences, they were seeing and feeling the impact of their choices and behaviors on the others involved. So they felt what the others were feeling and understood it. Lynn Kathleen Russell, one of the researchers of near-death experiences, writes, the NDEers saw and felt on an intimate, outreaching, and overlapping level the consequences their behavior caused for those subsequently touched by them. They intimately felt the ongoing reactions as though they were themselves the recipient, whether wonderful or painful. Several people came back to describe their life as an intricate tapestry that interwove with everyone they touched and beyond. And while there was only love and no fires of hell, NDEers did have to face the consequences of their actions. Now, in this regard, there's a few other transcripts that I think are fascinating. The first, in terms of this life review, is Hafur. He had an unspecified medical condition that caused his near-death experience. But he related that the figure on my right who was guiding me stopped. And it was as though we were at a small enclosed beach. There was a hill that served as a place for projecting my life from beginning to end, several times. At first rapidly, and afterwards more slowly. It was amazing how my life was shown with events I had completely forgotten about. It felt that I was seeing each frame of the personal movie of my life on earth. I realized that I understood everything with a great clarity and super lucidity. I had to take on a physical body and have the life experiences I was having. I realized I had wasted time in suffering, and what I should have been doing was using my freedom to choose true love and not pain in all that came into my life. I realized that there was no judging or punishing God like some religions say there is, and it was my mind with an expanded consciousness that judged itself and sifted its actions through the filter of perfect conscious love. Everything is recorded in a universal memory, even the most insignificant things. I took form in my body voluntarily and designed the life I would experience in order to learn how to truly love more and better. There is only one law: life. Death does not exist. We are all of God. Our own superlucid consciousness is what judges us with love. The kind of human love that most resembles divine love is infinite tenderness. I love that. Infinite tenderness. Interesting transcript that I ran across from a young man named Glauco, who fell into a rushing river. Interesting parallel with what you shared, Linda. At 8 years old, he fell into a rushing river. And later on, he recounted what he experienced. I heard the most pleasing voice telling me to relax and that everything was going to be okay. I then felt arms embracing me. And then he was taken to a beautiful bright light, he says, and greeted by a being of love. And then he went on to say, this being of love told me he was there to help me with my questions. And boy, did I have questions. But first he started to show me my life like a movie. It's kind of hard to explain. My life was going backwards. I remember thinking, how bad can this be? I'm only 8 years old. But the first image I saw was something bad I did. I used a key to scratch a car. I could feel the pain that I caused because of my actions. Then I remember thinking, oh no, I'm in trouble. But my angel surprised me by saying, don't worry, these are just lessons. And I remember thinking, oh crap, he can read my mind too. He heard that too, and he gave me a lovely, beautiful smile. This movie was showing second by second my entire life. Everything I saw, I could feel the results of it. I felt the owner of the car's feelings and thoughts. Then he told his wife about it, and I could feel her pain too, and on and on and on. He didn't show me just the bad things I did. He showed me the things I did out of love. He showed me the time I took this homeless boy I had become friends with home with me. We ate together. I gave him some of my clothes too. I could feel how happy I made my angel feel. He told me that those are the things that really matter. Those are the things that will make a difference in the world for the better. So evidently we get to see what it's all about, feel what it's all about, and further anchor the insights and the soul evolution that a lifetime is about. So finally, in terms of these insights, I want to deal with what these things tell us about suicide. Now, there are so many superstitions, fears, and painful teachings about suicide, as if pain, guilt, and anger and those left behind weren't enough. But here's some keys. In the transcripts from near-death experiencers who had that experience through an attempted suicide, they share that divine love is infinite and unconditional, and it never varies, most especially when human pain or our confusion reaches its maximum. Life doesn't give up on us. And again, their testimony is that in that experience, they were enfolded in the same kind of unconditional love that other near-death experiencers also report. Now, for some of them, they said there was some initial confusion as they went beyond the veil because they had intervened in an unplanned way upon their life path. But then they continue to say that they felt a guiding presence and an immense healing love all around and within them. And then, of course, as with others, they were given the ability to choose. They could stay in this advanced dimension. However, they were told they would have to take another lifetime to learn the lessons that are still at hand. Or they could return into the body and continue the journey of their unfoldment on this plane. But yet it was always about ongoing growth and becoming. And the second key that they realize is that our soul utilizes every experience in our life for growth. Every experience. Here's a transcript from a lady named Debbie Sue Wheeler. She actually has a book about this on a website, which is onewaytosee.com. She writes, in December of 1984, I killed myself. I wanted the peace of death. I wanted it now. My life was a trail of broken lives and promises not kept. I was so dark with the pain in my heart and spirit. On a Friday night, I put together the things I needed, wrote the required note that told everyone I could think of that they were not guilty for my leaving, took the mixture that killed me, and then I died. And at one point, she was asked by an interviewer, if you were dead, how did you know you were dead? And she said, the answer to that is what I've been trying to share with everyone. I think this experience might help. It is perhaps the most important point of this story. I did not die. You will not die. My body was dead. I was alive. And so in this transitional period, she was met again by a being and taken into its light. And she says, all I could see was the huge, brilliant light now directly in front of me. What I learned next amazed me. I discovered that the glowing globe of light was alive. It was a living, aware, loving being. It was like standing in the sun, but instead of sunshine, love warmed you. That being knew all of everything I ever was and loved me. I was at peace with myself. Nothing hurt. I could only see my life and self through that being's love. There was no negative in myself or from that being for anything I had done, including trying to kill myself. My suicide was changed by the power of the truth of love with which it was seen. That loving grace, total acceptance, complete love and truth created such joy in me. I saw that love was in me too, not just from the being shining down on me. It was in me as a part of myself. And I was full of love and peace. I've always said at memorials, you cannot judge a life by the number of its days or how it ends. We are all born of the Spirit. And as Dr. Holmes said, the eternal sun shall never set on the glory of our souls, for they are the coming forth of God into expression. So with that, what can we take away from this tonight? Well, I couldn't do a series back here without coming up with at least one acronym. So let's take that beautiful word life and attach some remembrances to each letter. First of all, with the L, lean into it all. Whatever's in your life, lean into it. Don't run away from it. Lean into it all. Enter your life fully. No more of the deferred living plan. Life is now. Now. So face all your stuff. Embrace your life lessons. Get into the classes that are now starting here at Mile High, because they awaken us all to the truth of our being, and they give us the tools by which to make gold out of every challenge or possibility in our life. Lean into it. And I know this requires vulnerability and honesty, but how long are we going to run away if that's been your strategy in life? Lean into it all. You know, every condition I run from pursues me. Every condition I welcome transforms me. So lean into it all. I mean, if you can survive death, you can probably survive anything that you have to face in this lifetime. That's the lesson of near-death experiences. Those who've done that realize, I'm here to face it all, learn from it all, enjoy it all, and become more as I do. So first of all, lean into it all. Secondly, the I, invoke your soul's agenda. Begin to ask the question, what is this experience about at the cellular level? Because obviously the true me, not this earthly fabrication that I've come up with and personality, but the true me designed aspects and key elements of this lifetime to awaken parts of my soul, to bring them into expression in my life. Much as a seed produces the sprout and it keeps producing more and more of it, we produce these lifetimes to reproduce and to bring forth more and more of that which we are. So we've got to harvest the gems and look for the larger story and experiences. We've got to get beyond just a weak, inadequate ego, judging and blaming and resisting, and realize there's meaning for me at the depth level of my being in every experience. A couple of questions I would encourage you to ask. What is this situation offering for my higher awareness and maximum growth? What is this situation, whatever it might be now or in the future, what is this situation offering for my higher awareness and maximum growth? And then secondly, what is this situation revealing about what I came here to be and do? What is this situation revealing about what I came here to be and to do? One of my favorite near-death stories is about a wonderful author and a powerful, powerful woman, Donna Markova. Donna was diagnosed with cancer at age 30, and she was pronounced dead on the operating table. And she was being wheeled down to the morgue, and as she felt like she was falling upward, she said. So she was having that experience of freeing from the physical vehicle. And she writes, during this time, which felt timeless, all the questions I had ever asked and all the experiences I'd ever had came together. I had the comprehension that I was light, that I was love, and that love can't be destroyed, whether or not you're in a body. A part of me that was something like a spider web of light descended down to my son, David, who was 8 at the time. The doctor had come out of the operating room and told David that he had lost his mother. All I wanted was to get through to David so that I could help him not suffer from my experience. but I couldn't get through then. Next, a voice asked me, have you had enough joy? I ask you that. On your journey, have you had enough joy? Well, Donna responded, well, no, I'm only 30 years old. And the voice said, what are you waiting for? And I ask you that. What are you waiting for? Then the voice asked me, what's unfinished for you to give? What's unfinished for you to give? And Donna said, what do you mean? I want a Ferrari and I want my own house. And the question was repeated over and over again. What's unfinished for you to give? What's unfinished for you to give? And in a way, it was invoking her soul agenda. And upon her return from a 4.5-minute death pronouncement, Donna's understanding of life was completely transformed. And most importantly, her focus shifted from getting to giving. And then she would later, she put together enormous breakthroughs and accomplishments in her life. But she is often most well known for a phrase she wrote. You may recognize it. I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that which came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom, and that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit. Invoke your soul's agenda because it's a beautiful one, no matter what you face. Thirdly, I invite you, the F is to forgive. Forgive your natural humanness. You know, we all fall on our face. We are all fabulously flawed at times. And yet we're on a journey of becoming. And if we have the integrity and the honesty to take it all in our life and use it for our evolution rather than our regression, then that's a life well lived. And we're not here to attain perfection, but progress. And the only way we can really love and forgive others is if we will do that first for ourselves. So to forgive ourselves, understanding that nothing in the universe is judging us, despite whatever was programmed into you from other religions. The insights from all of this and spiritual common sense suggest that nothing is judging you. It's all wanting you to become because you're a part of that essence itself. The God seed is within you. And so we're having this experience to learn and to grow. So there comes a point when we make peace with ourselves. Will you do that? If that's an issue. Make peace with yourself. It's all a part of a perfection, especially if you look at it deeply. Make peace with yourself and forgive yourself. That your heart can open and you can live life by forgiving others and loving them because that's active in you. And finally, the E is enjoy the eternal now. See, that's the upshot of all of this, is we are in the eternal instant now. Forms may change, but always there is this eternal instant, the glory of this moment. Elizabeth Barrett Browning wrote, "Earth's crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God." And so to have the eyes to see that now. Arthur Rubinstein was a celebrated pianist, and he tried to take his own life in his earlier years. And looking back, he realized what a pitiful thing that was. He came to a greater realization about life. It's the one I'm inviting you into. He wrote, "When I went out into the street, I came back from death. I was reborn. I suddenly realized what a damn fool I had made of myself. There were people moving through the streets. Dogs were running around. Flowers were growing in a little park. It was a wonderful, divine show. I learned then that happiness is not smiling or having money or being in good health, although these are conditions worth having. Happiness is really only living, taking life on its own terms, Now I am passionately involved with life. I love its changes, its color, its movement. To be alive, to be able to speak, to see, to walk, to have houses, music, paintings. It's all a miracle. I have adopted the technique of living life from miracle to miracle. Enjoy the eternal now. So if we understand all of this, then we can understand why Paul in the Bible said, "Oh, death, where is thy sting? And grave, where is thy victory?" And for me, death is nothing more than taking off a tight shoe and discovering new ways to dance. So lean into it all. Invoke your soul's agenda. Forgive your natural humanness that you might then love and forgive others. And enjoy this eternal moment. So that we might walk through every moment of this life proclaiming what I pray we will proclaim when we're ready to go beyond the veil. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Let's have a prayer. As we breathe in the breath of life, may we this evening attune to the miracle of it all. Moreover, to the love beyond even human concepts or words that has inspired and created all of life, including you and me, and loves us and champions us and holds us through all of the comings and goings of this life, and even when we move beyond the veil into love's greater good. May we this night proclaim an end to fear and open to the love that lets us live fully, embracing it all, leaning into everything going on, and giving all of our gifts and treasuring and cherishing every moment and every nuance of it all. Moreover, connecting constantly with the depth of our being, that part of us not quite of this world, but of God's love and God's peace and God's joy. And as we do this, I affirm and know that something continues to awaken and uplift and inspire us and make of us light keepers and difference makers wherever we go. We are the gift of life that never dies. We accept this, we know this, let it heal us at depth, and we proclaim this good and very good. And so we let it be, and so it is. Amen.
The heart of the world beats in me now. The light of the world shines through me. The song of the world sings through me now. I am the heart of the world. I am the heart of the world. The heart of the world beats in me now. The light of the world shines through me. The song of the world Yes, I am the heart of the world.
Amen. And amen. You know, I recount the great lesson of spirit given Donna Markova when she was asked, what's unfinished for you to give? And I think that's one of the most profound questions that any of us can respond to and explore. What's unfinished? If you're a fountain of the Spirit, and I'm telling you, you are, what's unfinished for you to impart? Now, I share this also because this beautiful spiritual community, this lighthouse of truth, is a very special thing on this planet. I've loved it for decades and decades, and it's here doing incredibly fine work with incredible leaders, Dr. Michelle and Reverend Josh, all of the ministers, practitioners, board members. And you know, what's called upon is for us to stand behind them and to support this work and to have the thrill of realizing that this is a part of our journey as we were attracted to this teaching and all of its gifts as one of the ways by which we could awaken to who we are and come out of the fog of untruth, and then to impart that to those around us. And so what a pleasure and a privilege to support mightily this spiritual community, not just occasionally, but since as we give and we receive, we activate the laws of circulation to support this, is supporting our own life as well. But understand there's no accident that you're here. And so what's unfinished for you to give? We're going to do an offering here in a moment, and those of you who are here, there are lucite containers right out on those booths as you depart. And those online, there'll be instructions online. I just invite you to move into the heart of all this, that it's all about love, that we've been given more blessings than we could ever recount, and we can pass them along. And we can do great things with our givingness. And I suspect that that's how our lives get great. I know that's true. And there's another thing you can do, because I encouraged this for many, many years, and it's to help your board and ministers plan for the next year. This is going to be an interesting new year as things are revitalized and restored, and things will be somewhat different, and yet it will be more of the energy we're used to. And this is one of the most important years ever to support this spiritual community. And so they've been doing their general fund campaign, done every year, and inviting all of us to take a stand by filling out a card of intent and helping them know what they can expect from us in our giving for the coming year. And whenever Erica and I do this, we stretch. We say, what was last year? Well, we can do better than that. We've been blessed by what we did then. We're going to do more. But whatever you do, understand that that's a way that you can do something significant. Help them know by filling this out and feel the joy of that and the growth of that in your own life. Because truly, as we take commitments and we don't just casually toss off that we're here to be much more the giver than the getter, then our lives truly blossom. And I bless you in that. It's an incredible, incredible journey of prosperity. So let's just pause for a moment and sense that abundant life that we are and ever shall be. And we're here to impart it, not cling to it, not hold it back, but to impart it. With the deep assurance that the more we do that, the more our lives prosper, grow, and abound in every way. So I bless what you do with your giving for tonight and the card of intent that is your stand for greater and greater growth. And so we let it be. Amen.
1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes I forget where I come from. Sometimes I forget where I'm going to. Sometimes I get so confused I lose my way. Sometimes I don't know what to say. You can sing along if you want to. Then I remember there is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere that Sometimes I believe in what I see. Sometimes I believe in what I perceive. Sometimes I get so confused I lose my way. Sometimes I don't know what to say. Then I remember there is nowhere that God is not. No, no, no. There is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere that God is not. 'Cause everywhere I am, I know what I got. I forgot to pray, forgot to be still and know. Forgot to forgive myself until I forget myself. Forgot to ask for help, I forgot to say a single word. Forgot to believe in me, believe in my spirit world. Come on, Rob. Remember, there is nowhere that God is not. No, no, no. There is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere that God is not. 'Cause everywhere I am, I know what I got. Everywhere I am, I know what I got. Everywhere I am, I know what I got.
Woo! It is all a miracle. The music, the message, the prayers. And so for our continued higher awareness and maximum growth, we have a few offerings for you. Dr. Roger will be in the lobby signing and selling copies of his fabulous book, This Life is Joy. Woo! And also, if you'd like to continue this topic with some personal sharing, I invite you to join us at the Healing Support Group on Wednesday. There's that group and the recovery group and a grief group. You can find more information on those at milehighchurch.org. Next Wednesday, we have Jackie Harris here with us. And this Sunday is Memorial Day Sunday with Dr. Patty, talking about how change is a gateway to enhanced mercy and love. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a wonderful week.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. 'Cause I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. There's no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free.